I don't know what I'm in for, but let's go for it.
Well, you're in for some serious crap. Let's just tell you that. Every 2 years we'll talk. How's that?
It's whenever you need it. It's
Hey,
cool.
listen. Last time I talked to you, you said the Boston Red Sox weren't as gritty as they used to be. What does that mean?
I don't know. There's no edge. It's so. I mean, they try to manufacture personality. What they're doing, the Wally hat on celebrations. There's not a lot of organic. I mean, like a guy like Willie Abreu, he could be a dirt dog, but everyone else just seems. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to have that chemistry and edge. And we were spoiled by '04 with those guys, but I don't know. There's just something about the team just feels antiseptic. It
I
just doesn't.
couldn't agree with you more. I don't go anymore. I just feel I wrote a book on County Stadium, and I feel so disconnected that I literally don't go anymore.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I have gone to like 20 something opening days in a row. And, now they have to promote the hell out of stuff because they don't have the same base that they had 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
I go because I like to go with my wife. But generally speaking, like I have as much fun or more fun at the Yard Goats paying a third of the price.
Well, you and I are on the exact same page. I'll go watch the Mallards or I'll go watch in Green Bay, and it's just no fun anymore. But I did talk to the VP of communications for the Brewers a few weeks ago, and I said the same thing to him. He said, Jim, he said, it is a business now, or I guess always was. But he says the kids today won't sit still for it. The days you and I sat in the bleachers with our family and talked in between innings are gone.
Yeah, and even like on TV, when my kids on football, they watch Red Zone, right? So they don't even watch a full game on its own. And then generally speaking, and like I fight it all the time, I have arguments all the time, but like they won't even sit through commercials
No.
without looking at their phone or what have you. So I admire, we do a podcast here at Odyssey on the called Fan Base. It's a start off as a Red Sox Yankees podcast, but it's really a baseball podcast. And unless a dad or mom really passes it on to their kid, no one's growing up
Right.
jonesing to watch baseball at all.
No, I couldn't agree more. Have you heard of this? I saw on 60 Minutes this grouping called the Bananas.
Oh yeah, but they've been a while. I mean, I thought 60 Minutes was late on that. I mean, we
Well, they may have been. I didn't. I saw a few clips on YouTube and wonder what the hell it was.
yeah, I mean, it's fun. I think it's sort of morphed into a little bit of a Harlem Globetrotters kind of thing. So I mean, it started off. I mean, the Savannah Bananas. They had a college wood bat team in Savannah, and then they
Yeah.
started this alternative game, and it's super fun. Like some of the stuff is fun. Like if a fan, I love like rules. Like if a fan catches the ball, it's an out,
It's
and
the way it should be in MLB.
yeah, and it is really fun. It gets a little bit too hokey for me.
Jake the Magician, our director of entertainment, Zach Frangelo. And this one straight out of Aladdin.
And a little
Yeah.
bit of Barnum and Bailey. But
Yeah.
Jackson Olsen is the guy in our market. He played baseball at the University of Hartford, and he's one of their stars. He's got like over 1.5 million followers on TikTok and so on. And it works. But I mean, if it gets people to the ballpark and they make money, I don't care what they do. I mean,
No.
God bless them.
God bless him. And the guy who came up with it, I guess, was an admirer of P.T. Barnum. So I
Well,
mean,
he dresses up in a top hat and a yellow suit,
yep.
so he's
He,
got that
he
showmanship.
he walks the walk. Not all that different from Bill Veeck, who
Yeah.
walked the walk in his day. It's funny you should say. The one thing I think we've lost is authenticity in the world, much less baseball. And we lost Bob Uecker, and I think he was about as authentic a guy as you could get. Did you have much exposure to Bob? And did you? I worked with him every day, and he was a gentleman, funny as hell, great comedic timing with Brian. I mean, I know comics who have less comedic timing than that guy. Were you ever impressed with his talents?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty phenomenal how, hold on one second. I think it's pretty phenomenal how he was such an average ball player
Yeah,
and created this career. I mean, obviously from major league to light beer to all these
right.
other things. For me, I do think that he didn't necessarily care about the things that maybe today people care about. Like, we have but even take someone like Joe Castiglione in Boston and compare to Will Fleming. And I have nothing personally against a Will Fleming, but Joe Castiglione wasn't funny like Bob Uecker, but like he was just this baseball lifer replaced by a young person who's really trying to impress you with his brains all the time.
Right.
And Uecker he's not trying to impress you. He's trying to entertain you and have fun himself. I mean, as a journalist, like if the questions you ask are the questions that are interesting to you, and more often than not, that's what people want to ask too. And I think Uecker he reacted the way, in a lot of ways, that the average person might do it. He just did it in a funnier way.
100%. And he's touching on, anytime I interview somebody, I try to go off the beaten path, because that, number one, ingratiates you to them, but also I think it leads to the next question, as you said. I don't script, sometimes to my detriment, but I think 90% of my interviews have gone well because of that. I don't want to know the stats. I don't want to know what time you get up in the morning for your radio broadcast. I know it. I know all that stuff. So I don't want to go there. I had a questionnaire for Leroy Butler, the Packer Hall of Famer. I took a while to get him on this little thing, but he did it, and I had him for 2 minutes. I gave him a questionnaire, a preference questionnaire, and he was blown away by that's all I wanted. But I figured people had never seen that, Brian. They hadn't seen that. They'd heard about the Lambeau Leap. They'd heard about all his interceptions. Who gives a rat's ass at that point? I mean, really? I mean, how many more times do you need to hear it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I bring up this story. This guy, Mike McQuaid, he's a longtime producer at ESPN, and I don't even know what he does there now, but one of the first times I went on TV, I was really nervous. I was covering hockey, and he's like, I don't give a crap what you sound like. I don't care for crap what you look like. Just tell me something I don't know. And so you can go out there, and his point is go report and get new information. Don't just read all the papers and put something together that, maybe the average person might be like, wow, he knows the stuff, but the expert would be like, that's all stuff I've already read. Like,
right, exactly.
Go out. If you give people information or content that they haven't already seen or heard, then you're doing a good job.
I always thought about, if I were a baseball beat writer, I'd literally shoot myself, because there's no originality to it. You've got the score, you could just leave the blanks in your paper and to know where to put a small comment.
In the defense of some of the journalists, I think journalism's changed, but the access has changed too, Jim. I mean, the milling about the clubhouse and even grabbing a beer with these guys. And then whether it's because they make so much money that there's such a large separation, or they're much more protective of their careers. I don't know what the reasons are, but that distance also makes it so, like, beat writers really can't scoop. There's not a lot of scooping on each other because there's just not as much access, and they don't get to know these players and coaches and managers the way they did 30 or 40 years ago. And then that's not news, but I mean, I really think it's a separation with fans too. Like, fans can't access players like they used to either. And it's mainly because there's a lot of crazy people, and they make so much money that they don't really want to talk to people. They don't.
It's a different era. I used to lean on the batting cage and talk to the players. Those were days that, obviously I used to help Houston Astros players with their crossword puzzles in the locker room. I mean, can you imagine that today? Just sitting there and really enjoying yourself and talking. Again, that whole thing has lost its flavor to me. In the last week or two, there's this website called Really American. It means nothing to you, but I tried out for some video stuff, but Brian, they're so phony now. They do all this hyperbole, and like everything they do is, over the top and blah, blah, blah. And when I said to him, I can't do that. I can't be phony. I can't do that attention span crap that these kids need today. I mean, I weep for them because they don't read. They really have no patience. Do you find your audience has changed to the point where, and what's your demo? And if it's younger, do they have patience for you anymore?
Well, I mean, we certainly don't have a young demo. The younger people in our audience are like the people who grew up listening to this legacy station on the way to school. So now they do it a lot with their kids on the way to school. We talk all the time about how to get younger. And there's the big prevailing thing in media. It's like, especially in local TV news, and I do radio, but it's like, well, why don't we just service the people who are watching us as best we can, as opposed to trying to get new people in, you know what I mean? Or try to get new people in. And we talk like, one of my producers, he thinks that talking more like MMA and stuff will get younger people in. And it's like, well, giving results to the UFC fight card, I don't think we're not going to become a destination for people to get their UFC information. So like, I don't think that's the answer either, to do that stuff. And so I don't know how to get younger, but I don't need to get too much younger. I think it's important for us to service people who are sort of working and trying to raise their families. So like,
Right.
I don't need 25 to 34, but I love 34 and up, and so like to get the 34 to 54 is really where I try to work. And honestly, I go with my instincts and talk about the things that are important to me. My biggest problem, Jim, is that we don't have the money anymore to market and advertising, and I suck at social media. So I'm not going to do this. I can't do this regular TikTok video that's going to draw people in.
Nope.
But that stuff is proven. If you're good at it, it does work. I just don't have the interest and ability to do that on a regular.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying a minute ago, right? That I don't have that phoniness what was last time?
It doesn't have to be phony. But I actually think that if you're authentic and it's good, it'll be okay. But I choose to spend my time elsewhere, and I don't really know how to do that stuff. And I haven't shown it. My bosses get mad at me. I haven't shown the interest to take the next step and actually learn it. And so if things don't go well for me, that part of it's on me.
Well, it's critical. I can't do it either. And when was the last time you saw a 23-year-old turn to anything but their phone for news? I mean, they don't need to wait for the television or radio anymore. They have whatever they need in a millisecond. So I don't know. I agree with you that I think when the boomers croak and when these 35-year-olds pass, that terrestrial radio is already on one leg in my estimation, and and reading is even less than that.
I just think the state of media, the future of media, is such an ongoing, living, breathing topic. I always like to talk about it, because number one, I love my job and I want to keep it, right? And so I think these are great topics. I hope that good content and good people will win out. But you're right. I mean, the way people consume is really different, and some people get it and some people thrive with it, and other people don't. And I'm hoping I can figure it out before it's too late.
Well, it's funny. The thing that scares me most is that with these little analytics I do with my little thing here, I see the attention span is 15, 20 seconds. And I'm not much better. If I see a video that's 8 minutes long, I know I'm going to be out of there unless it's something very compelling.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you get to, it's a microcosm of what these people are doing, that they're seeing something for 30 seconds. Their brain says, all right, that's enough.
Right.
Let's move on to the next thing. Because, if your basket is full of eggs, you don't mind doling them out. I don't know if that's an analogy, but if you have 4 eggs, you're going to be much more, discerning as to where you dole that out. So
and be honest with yourself. When was the last time you read an article, a written article, all the way through? Usually you're 4 paragraphs in and you move on. I mean, that's what most people do.
You and I are an anomaly. I mean, I ride the common bike, and I read while I do it. And I've gone through more novels and books in the last, but I agree with you 100%. My daughters look at newspaper like they're kryptonite. They just don't know what it is, but they can't talk on the phone either. And the funny thing I have to tell you from a sociological perspective, you and I grew up, telephones are more immediacy, and I said, you can find out more in one phone call than you can in 40 texts, just because you get the nuance and you can communicate quickly. They don't know it. And I think these 2 kids, these young men, ghosted me in terms of the responses. I gave them 5 examples, and I swear to God, I haven't heard back. But that's what they do today. They don't know how to communicate as humans. And that kind of is what terrifies me, is that we've gone to a point where it's beyond attention spans. We've disconnected, hundreds of thousands of years of connection, between people.
I don't disagree with you at all. And I think that it's a part of our brains aren't being fired the way they should be fired. And I think the movie WALL-E from Pixar ends up being a super dark movie, because, a lot of that stuff's coming to fruition.
Well, you know what else? Broadcast news network. those two were about as Nostradamus if you know could have imagined. Those two things were, spot on today. Where Holly Hunter says everyone laughs at this domino thing. I don't know if you remember the movie, and they all clap. She goes, "Good, you're going to get more of it." And that was what, 30 plus years ago. So what are you streaming now? I got to know that last night I caught up on Succession. There's something on Netflix called Adolescence. If you're watching stuff like that, you have to check it out. What are you looking at these days?
Well, I watched Adolescence with my wife, and
Were you was blown away as I was? Because that
yeah, I mean it was so different than what I expected.
really,
Yeah, because I didn't read about it beforehand, and I didn't even know it was British, and I didn't know it had to do with a murder, and I won't give away more than that. But
I saw it.
the
Oh,
performance,
you mean to the 10 people? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, and the performances were great. I mean, I think it brought up a lot of conversation about not just social media, but also like raising young men and boys, and a whole bunch of different stuff. I mean, I like frivolous stuff. Like my wife doesn't like violence, so we've watched Shoresy, and we've watched the morning show, which my wife
Yeah.
just ended up not liking it. But I don't get a chance because I work early mornings. I only get to
Yeah.
watch anything on the weekends, really. So I'm not a massive consumer. I'd really like to see Severance, but my wife refuses to watch it. So, but right now we just finished up Adolescence, over
Yeah.
the weekend. So that
Well,
was our most recent watch.
from a filmmaking perspective, and I'm a film guy, the one shot thing is what blows me away.
Yeah.
The whole episode. And the thing I'll leave you with is The Pit on Max. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. And it's Noah Wiley, who came from ER. And I'm
Yeah,
telling
I know. Yeah.
you, the first season takes place in one day. And from 6 a.m. to like 10 p.m. in their day, and it is so amazing. I'm talking to a guy later this week who had a small role in it, but I haven't been blown away by a series in a long time. I think it's got like 8.8 on IMDb.
All right.
But if you
I'm
get
on
a
it.
chance, it is amazing. The ratings are through the roof, and it's just such an incredible show. But it's ER on steroids. You know what I mean? It's ER with everything you could imagine that goes on in an emergency room. I mean, language, injuries, and the way people deal with things. I haven't been that excited about a show since Better Call Saul. So,
All right. I'm on it. I'm
best of
taking that.
luck, Brian. Thank you so much for taking some time.
We'll talk to you soon, Jim. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it very much. Thanks.